Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Masonry Strong Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Richard O'Connor. Richard, how are you doing?
Good. How you doing today, Justin?
Awesome, I'm doing great. Just tell me a little about yourself. How'd you get started in the industry?
Sure. I started in the industry about 26 years ago now. Uh, to kind of a little winding story to it, but my grandfather had a burial vault and septic tank business back coming out of the Great
Hmm.
Depression. Uh, and that's what my father grew up with. And when my father was in college, my grandparents actually sold the business in Watertown, New York, where I'm from now. And he ended up serving in Vietnam, and after Vietnam, ended up actually getting a job with New York Life and was in the insurance industry for most of his life till he retired
Hmm.
back in the 90s. And upon retirement, moved back home to Watertown and somehow became an investor in a concrete block company. And within 4 or 5 years, I came up and joined him, and we bought out the two primary owners, and I've been in it ever since. I actually grew up in northern New Jersey and worked for Payne Weber on Wall Street for out of college.
Oh,
So
wow, nice, awesome. And what kind of has kept you into this industry?
I mean, it was a neat challenge. It's a fun running a small family business. You know, it's not what I grew up thinking I was going to do.
Hmm.
Or I was more of a finance guy in college, and obviously working on a trading floor, and then going into concrete. So it was definitely an education. But no, I mean, I like the industry. There's a lot of good people.
Yeah.
It's fun seeing products that you make turn into buildings, turn into things. Uh, and it's nice just the running the small business, the family atmosphere we're able to get. We're only about 18 to 20 people most of the time, but we scale up and down depending on economy, business, and everything else. And it's a nice small town to live,
Hmm.
raise
Nice.
the family into.
And
So,
have you lived in Watertown? Or yes, you grew up in New Jersey, but you've pretty much been mostly in Watertown for a large majority of your life.
no, actually, the first
Oh,
time I
nice.
ever lived in Watertown was when I moved there in 1999.
Oh,
I've
okay,
always
gotcha.
had some family up there, but yeah, even my parents we were in New Jersey and New York City area and bounced around the country a little bit early in my father's career. So,
Awesome.
uh, yeah, he was born and raised there, but he always kept an eye on the area, but didn't move back until he decided to retire. So,
Nice. And when did you first start to attend these CMHA meetings?
so when I got in the business, and since I was completely from outside anything to do with construction or design or anything like that, I went to the NCMA schools back then, and I did the basic block school, and I did some of the more technical schools, and I got to know some of the guys, and then I got involved with some of the ASTM meetings, and so I started coming to and what was NCMA at the time, and then probably around 2007, actually, I was appointed to the board of directors as an at-large by the chairman of the board at the time, Steve Doty, and then it kind of just increased my activity. But I mean, people invited me into committees, and then next thing you know, I'm chairing a subcommittee. Next thing you know, I'm being asked to serve on this committee, and then being, so
Mhm.
I've kind of a lot of interesting experiences working my way through and interacting with people.
Yeah. And having have gone to these meetings as long as you have, what are some of your favorite things to have come out of them?
I mean, I love just some of the things we accomplished. I mean, the checkoff's a big thing that we were done, and disclosure, I'm actually on the checkoff board
Nice.
itself too. Uh, but I don't know if I was at the original meeting, which had some of the MCA contractors. Mackie Brown was one of the
Hmm.
big personalities back then in 2009. We were down lobbying Congress about military construction and
Mm.
trying to get the Army Corps of Engineers to design more durable, more block.
Wow.
We had one of the few areas of the country with Fort Drum, New York, Fort Drum military base outside of Watertown was one of the few bases still building with block. Uh, and during that conversation, someone came up with, you guys should look into doing a checkoff. And that was 2008 or 2009. And yeah, here we are
Nice.
17 years later. So,
Awesome. And what have been some of your favorite, innovations or ways that the industry has changed over the years that you've seen?
uh, I think it's kind of hard for me to say because I mean, I started at ground zero and worked my way through of what it
Hmm.
is, uh, seeing some of the technical stuff, seeing uh, it's always neat to me learning new ways of doing things, some of the design things, some of the environmental stuff, getting into the carbon sequestration, and some of that stuff has really been interesting to learn about. So I mean, I feel like I've been in it a long time, but it's still kind of new to me because I didn't necessarily grow up with it. So it's still, there's plenty of things to learn. And
Yeah, absolutely.
so,
Nice. And you know, I guess as far as getting new people into the industry, like there's a huge push for getting, programs in high schools, new generation. What is it like kind of been like for you to see that, the huge push, and whether it be, the new generation coming in, what they're like, or just in your eyes, like.
no, I could definitely see the need for it. I
Mhm.
mean, it's funny, the CP, the emerging professionals, the young, the whatever,
Mhm.
this group, it was funny. It kind of started right when I had been in for a little bit, but I had just turned 40. So I was a little more experienced than they wanted for a brand new young professional. So it was funny. I kind of missed that one by a couple of years. Uh, but our own company has been involved working with some of the different labor groups that have gone into high schools and they've done more week-long things. But it's exciting to see some of the ideas of trying to get more kids to learn about masonry. I know my own workforce, historically, we've had a lot of guys that lasted 20, 30, 40 years with us. And now we need to replace those guys. And all those guys grew up hardworking farm kids, and there aren't nearly as many farms out there with that kind of work ethic that kids grew up with. So getting kids interested in that type of work is, I think, very important. And I've got a son who's a sophomore in college right now, but I looked at a lot of his friends who, weren't ready to go to college, and they've been looking at the trades and labor, and it's kind of exciting to see kids that they kind of have an idea, they're kind of looking at a plan, and they're starting to think, okay, what can I do? And seeing that there's more to just continuing to go to school. And then suddenly you're 22. What do I do? Some of these, it's nice to see 17, 18-year-old kids kind of getting exposure to things and having a plan and getting an opportunity to do that. And
Mhm.
I think it's going to be important for us, for the workforce side of the mason contractors, as well as just the laborers to work in the concrete plants, the block plants, driving the trucks, everything else is, we got to do a better job showing that, hey, this is a viable career and this can be a good career and you can enjoy what you do every day.
Yeah.
So,
Is there any way that you see the industry changing as the new generation comes in, whether it be to kind of adapt, or not, maybe not adapt, but I guess adhere to their, interests, and to get them, more interested in it?
yeah, it is interesting because I said it's some kind of society, but I mean, it's a little bit generational. The attention spans are
Hmm.
different. You know, cell phones came along when I was in my 20s. Now my own son and everybody else has grown up with instantly want to look something up. You just
Hmm.
pull something out of your pocket and look it up. It's not
Hmm.
like, oh, you got to write it down and come back to it later. So engaging people, getting them, simply people just showing up to work hard and just do it because someone told them to do it. It's a little more of a challenge now. I think that a lot of the younger generation now is kind of likes to know the why, and why are we doing things, how are we doing things, what are we doing, and engaging them. Or the idea you come in and you're gonna earn your dues for a long time before you get the opportunity to move up. I mean, you got to kind of be a little more creative and showing them there's a path. It doesn't mean that they're gonna jump to the top immediately,
Hmm.
but I think you got to start talking to them sooner in their career
Absolutely.
about what opportunities are, or how you can engage them, how you can get them more involved in why they're doing and what's important to doing and things along those lines. Where in the past, people came in, they needed a job, they worked hard, and they didn't necessarily ask a lot of questions. They kind of put their nose down
Hmm.
ground and got it done.
Yeah.
And not to
And,
say people don't do that
oh
anymore,
yeah,
but it's different. There's more options for people today.
absolutely. And with your industry, like a lot in the block, how has that been over the years? Just kind of learning how the industry works, and then kind of adapting yourself adapting to the change of the industry, in the manufacturing side of block.
Yeah, I mean, when I came in, it was a given that, okay, people are going to buy concrete
Hmm.
block. So it's kind of funny when you're running a block company. Uh, you're a manufacturer and you're making a product, and some of the things we're doing are not commodities, but we are kind of a commodity product. Uh, so you have that side of it, and then running the business itself, there's all types of different things. You're financing people, you're doing all those deliveries. But the really interesting part when you're selling the product and selling it is, so we're selling the major component to building a masonry wall. But as the producer and manufacturer, we're not laying the wall. The mason contractors are laying the wall. So we're kind of selling, hey, we want you to build a building out of concrete blocks. So you have to go to the architect or ultimately even the owners to like the idea of wanting a block building. Then you have to get the engineer involved to say, okay, we want you want the block building. The architects has the vision, the aesthetic that the block will fit with what they want to do. And now we got to get structurally, we have to make it efficiently. Then you have to get the contractor and you got to get the construction managers and the GCs. Okay, they're more comfortable laying steel or wood or block or what are they? And then we get down to the mason contractors. So ultimately, I'm selling block to the mason contractors, but I'm really trying to sell block all the way through the chain because if the decision maker or the owner or the designer doesn't believe in building it out of block, then there's nothing to build and there's nothing to sell. So it's kind of been an education of kind of who's your customer because you work to the retail and the people along those lines. You've got to work to the contractors of good service and quality products, to the mason contractors because they could always go to another block company, although there are fewer of us, but there are still competitors, there's still competition. But end of the day, you really have to sell the idea of people wanting to build out of block, or else there's not as much work for the contractors or for us. So
Yeah. That's a very awesome insight. I've actually never, that's great. Kind of taking a break from the industry and your career for a second. What do you like to do outside of work? Any hobbies or interests that you indulge in?
uh, I mean, again, I have a family. We have one son, so I mean, I was very involved in sports when he was playing. I helped coach, do a lot of that stuff. It's been an adjustment now that he's in college, not being involved with that. I mean, I do like to play golf. I collected music's different from when I was a kid. I used to get records, which became CDs, which became whatever, and now everything's streaming. So it's, they
Yeah.
say Generation X is kind of lost, and that's probably why we're grumpy because we kept having to replace our music collections in different formats over the years. So, but no, I always had fun
Yeah.
with that and just doing things with family. So,
Awesome. Nice. Does your son have any interest in this industry, or is he kind of on his own thing?
is somewhat. He's actually studying in engineering and management in college, which is kind of like industrial engineering. And his school has got that kind of a program. So he's learning the business side of things, and he's learning the engineering. We didn't necessarily have him in sweeping the floors in the plant. Growing up the whole way through. In high school, we tried to get him working, and because he was big in sports, he actually ended up with a foot fracture and a bad ankle in summer, so we couldn't actually have him doing physical labor because he was injured. But it's been interesting trying to show him not just the physical and the labor and the mechanical side of things, but even the business side of it. We've gotten him involved in looking at some of the gradations of things and some of the P&L side of things of how running efficiently and planning and figuring out how you're going to run and things along those lines. So he's got some interest. I'm not sure in the long run if this is it's not like he's grown up thinking this is what I'm going to do, but I think it's a possibility.
Yeah.
So, when I was 18, 19 years old, I'm not sure I knew exactly what I was going to do. I kind of did,
Yeah.
but I'm already on my second career. I mean, what I thought I was going to do at 21, I did for about 10 years and
Yeah.
then I switched. So,
Gotcha. Nice.
yeah.
Kind of just going back to these CMHA meetings, how valuable do you feel that it is that you specifically and other people in the industry get to work and communicate with industry professionals, meeting new people and stuff like that, and getting to form relationships like that? How valuable is that to you?
I think that's probably one of the most valuable parts. I mean, it's interesting that I got to know staff because I needed to learn about the industry, about
Yeah.
the products, about selling the products, about I got opportunities to get to know the vendors, to selling the equipment, to make the products. But we can learn a lot from each other. And even then, one of the things early on I got was we made concrete brick, and we were trying to get an ASTM standard for face brick that was different than the gray brick that are just using for putting under bars and mesh and manhole type stuff. And I spent a number of years working with some of the NCMA staff and some other producers within ASTM meetings. And then once I got here, but it's neat because I mean we're a small single machine, rural upstate New York, and I get to be in committees, and I've got friendships with people from all over the country of all different sizes. I mean, some of the bigger companies, Old Castle and Quikrete, I have friends there. I've got friends who are other small block companies, and it's we can learn a lot from each other, business wise, just personal wise, making the connections, the different perspectives we have, I think is vital.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Nice. And speaking about, your career kind of personally, where do you, do you have any idea of where you hope for it to go in the future? Do you have a plan for it, or is it just kind of right now you like where you're at?
I mean, being a small family business. I think the biggest part of my career now is I'm in my 50s, so uh, kind of setting up for the next phase of kind of the leadership management in my company. Again, we've transitioned. We were barbelled for a while, and until when COVID hit, it kind of made things where I had a lot of people who were with me for 20 plus years, and a lot of people who were with me for less than 5.
Yeah.
And those people who were with 20 plus years over time want to retire. I mean, they've worked hard their whole life. They've earned it. So, getting that not just next level of employees, but even that next generation of leadership within the company for the sales and for the operations and things along those lines is kind of important. So, I mean, to a degree, my job I guess, is probably going to be the same, but the demands and the roles and the things are different. So,
Nice.
and I got involved in the checkoff, so that's opened up
Yeah.
my eyes a little bit with some of the different things of places to work, people to work with, trying to promote masonry and what we can do to promote more masonry and getting more involved in that. So I guess it's evolving, but it's not necessarily a next phase for me.
I gotcha. Nice. And I've always wondered, coming from a family-owned business, do you feel that there's some kind of advantage to that, to where there's a stronger bond between all the workers or the people that are, running everything in the industry, specifically this one?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that there's pluses and minuses to it. I mean, once you've found the right people, it is more of kind of you get a little bit more of a family environment. You get to know people. I mean, when you have 20 employees or whatever, and you're the head of the company, I mean, you just get up, walk away from your desk, and you go walk down to the plant. You go in, see the drivers. You can show the sales counter. I mean, you get to know every employee. You don't necessarily know every detail of them, but I mean, everybody gets to know everyone else. Where some of the bigger companies, it's harder. You get departments, you get divisions. Even some of the companies and people now, I mean, I have friends who they're running this plant in this state, and this guy's running this plant in this state, and they're in the same company, but it's a whole different,
Yeah.
So I think, so I think the small businesses have some advantages. Obviously, the resources and the training and the things like that, we don't have the resources that the bigger guys do, but that's why we belong to groups like this. That's why we work with the machine companies and things like that.
Awesome. Well, Richard, I appreciate your time and coming on here today. I had a great time talking with you.
No, appreciate it. Thank you, Justin.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.